Last March, I released a video about an upcoming retro FPS by Duke Nukem 3D developer 3D Realms, Ion Maiden. The game had just been released into early access, providing paying customers with a playable proof-of-concept alpha demo, demonstrating what the developers were hoping to achieve with their homage to 90s PC shooters. Despite the game's 1 hour runtime, I quickly became enamoured with its grimy aesthetic, gorgeous pixel art graphics, and deeply satisfying shooting mechanics. Built using an enhanced version of the build engine, the legendary game engine that powered classic titles such as Duke Nukem 3D and Blood, helped Ion Maiden feel authentic in a way that was truly unique, less like a modern take on a classic genre, and more so something that genuinely felt like it was created at the time. A true sequel to classic build engine titles, built using the same technology. Something very special indeed. I played through that demo multiple times, in awe of what the team over at 3D Realms had achieved even at such an early stage of development. 17 months later, Ion Maiden, now called Ion Fury because of a certain 70s heavy metal band taking umbrage with the original name, I suppose nothing's more rock and roll than copyright infringement, eh lads, has finally been released, and I'm pleased to report that the final version isn't just a blisteringly fun throwback to 90s FPS PC games, it's also, quite simply, one of the best games I've had the pleasure of playing all year. You play as Shelley Bombshell Harrison, a bomb defusal expert working for the Global Defense Force in the filthy cyberpunk city of Neo DC. After the sinister Dr. Hestel unleashes the members of his cybernetic cult onto the streets in an effort to take over the city with a campaign of chaos and destruction, it's up to Shelley to put an end to Hestel once and for all. It's a pleasingly 90s narrative, one that's more interested in setting up a world and providing a motivation for your actions rather than attempting to spin a multifaceted yarn that provides character development and social commentary. You are a woman with a gun looking to shoot the bad guy in the head. That's your lot. It's an old school approach to telling a story, one that bears more than just a passing resemblance to those found in games such as Doom and Duke Nukem 3D. The majority of the plot is told via text within a section on the menu screen titled Read Me, which is hilarious, and an opening cutscene which consists of 2 comic panels. Other than that, narrative is conveyed through brief interactions with Hestel via in-game monitors.
Excuse me, miss. Have you seen an enormous security droid anywhere? I seem to have misplaced it.
After I'm done with it, you can claim what's left. Yum, yum, yum.
And Shelley's sarcastic quips and one-liners. Let's face it though, despite how cool the plot is, that's not the reason why you'll be hooked on Ion Fury. The real star of the show, as it should be in any game attempting to emulate the shooters of 2 decades ago, is the combat. The shooting mechanics in Ion Fury are remarkable. Guns feel phenomenal, the game offering a selection of weapons that could easily be considered some of the most satisfying in the genre. Weapons are varied and feel completely different from one another, allowing you to approach situations in multiple ways. Do you deal with enemies from a distance with the crossbow, which electrocutes targets with its charged up bolts? Do you take the more upfront approach, decimating opponents with the devastating disperser shotgun? Or do you favour a more explosive solution, perhaps using the dispenser's secondary fire option to lob grenades into a crowd of cultists? Or by using Shelley's signature skull emblazoned bowling bombs to turn your cyborg adversaries into piles of hot human jam? Whatever you decide, I guarantee you'll have fun. Your ever-growing arsenal of firearms and tools, all complete with a secondary fire function that often completely changes the weapon entirely, is wonderful. Put it this way, the guns in Ion Fury are so good that even the game's starting pistol, often a trash weapon for babies, such as this little piss dribbler in Doom, is one of the best guns in the entire game. Perfectly powerful in its own right, Shelley's precious Loverboy revolver features a secondary fire that lets you lock onto targets before automatically plunging 2 perfectly aimed bullets into their skulls. A mechanic that reminded me strongly of Red Dead Redemption's excellent Deadeye system. More often than not, enemies can be taken down via this method quicker than if you were using any other weapon in the game, making slowly targeting groups of cultists using Loverboy not only a deeply satisfying and very methodical strategy, but an effective one. Still, an FPS is only as good as its shotgun, and Ion Fury's disperser feels so powerful that it's earned a special little place in my heart. It's arguably as satisfying to shred an enemy to bits with the disperser than it is with Doom's single-barreled shotgun. For my money, Doom's double-barreled super shotgun is still the best shotgun in video games because, I mean, just look at that reload animation. I love the way it makes me wait, the patience it demands from the player as the Doom guy fists a handful of shells into its barrel before snapping them back into place as if it's saying, I am too powerful to be rushed. Oh, I need a cold shower. Give me a minute, please. Oh boy! But yeah, the dispenser is a close second. Enemies are an assorted bunch of cybernetic monstrosities, a disgusting amalgamation of grimy industrial components and organic flesh. Cloth-wearing cultists proceed pulsating heads clumsily attached to drones and mechanical spider legs, vicious Wendidos and flame-headed mechanical demons. Also, a few beta robots, thrown in for good measure. Most use hit-stun weapons, others lob projectiles that can be more easily avoided. Even on normal difficulty, all cultists pose a significant threat, forcing players to think on their feet as they progress. The game is tough but fair, combining old-school mechanics such as health that doesn't regenerate and dumb, aggressive AI with modern improvements to smooth out some of the blemishes, such as the ability to perform headshots, full 360 directional mouse aiming, and, thankfully, autosave. Movement feels fantastic. Shelly is fast, allowing players to maneuver around groups of enemies with ease, jumping over obstacles and zipping behind cover when required. Level design feels suitably era correct. Tight corridors filled with cultists hiding around hidden corners give way to wide open spaces, perfect for huge battles against waves of enemies. Secrets are stuffed behind hidden passageways, destructible walls entucked within hard to reach corners. A classic coloured T-card mechanic results in levels that loop back on themselves, emphasising a feeling of progression as familiar locations open up further to reveal additional spaces for you to explore. The updated version of the build engine allows for levels that morph and change too, with explosions and earthquakes creating new paths, a method often used to subtly guide the player to where they need to go next. Being built using the build engine also gives Ion Fury the benefit of having a distinct style that looks gorgeous. The combination of traditional pixel art with basic 3D geometry brings the cyberpunk dystopia of Neo DC to life in a way that looks genuinely unique in 2019. The game's 7 zones are broken up into individual levels, each one built around a specific location. Some notable areas include Hestel's headquarters, an inner city skyscraper for his cybernetic prosthetic business that holds more than its fair share of sinister research laboratories. There's a level set entirely on a train, where you run back and forth between carriages, unlocking doors and fighting enemies as they destroy compartments in an attempt to stop you. There's even a level set within a hotel built entirely out of shipping containers, a multicoloured and multi-tiered location that ends in a Tetris joke which caught me completely off guard and made me laugh out loud as a result. The game is stuffed full of these kind of dumb jokes, most of them penis related.
This is the worst I've seen yet. This man has no dick.
But others that bear resemblance to the anti-corporate humour found within 80s films such as Robocop. They're not exactly, that funny, but they help sell the idea that Ion Fury is a game that was meant to have been released in the 90s, but was lost down the back of a cabinet in the offices of 3D Realms. Also, you might not know this is protagonist Shelley Harrison's second game, the first being 2016's Bombshell that was met with a less than favourable critical reception at the time. Also developed by 3D Realms, Bombshell started off as a Duke Nukem game titled Duke Nukem Mass Destruction, but following the acquisition of the Duke Nukem license by Gearbox, 3D Realms changed the protagonist to Shelley Harrison. Harrison was also originally going to be a character in Duke Nukem Forever. She looked like this at the time. Man, the artists at 3D Realms really had some ideas about her back in the 90s, huh? Anyway, it should come as no surprise then that Shelley is Duke Nukem in everything but gender, a sarcastic badass who cracks one-liners and thwarts action movies at any given opportunity. For what it's worth, I prefer her to Duke. Don't at me. Speaking of sound, the soundtrack is brilliant. It reminded me a lot of Time Splitters, which I wasn't expecting, but appreciated immensely. Ion Fury is a wonderful addition to a steadily growing list of modern retro FPS games. In the same way last year's excellent Dust built upon the foundations of Doom and Quake in order to create a horror-focused 3D FPS, Ion Fury feels like the true successor to Duke Nukem 3D, surpassing it, I'd argue, in every way. This is a truly wonderful game. Perhaps the best shooter I've played in a decade. Yes, better than Dust, and I do not say that lightly. Ion Fury is an essential purchase for fans of 90s FPS PC games, and just a bloody great game in general. I can't wait for the Switch version of this. Holy hell, that's going to be good. Give it to me. Immediately. Please. Please.